Hi, good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Tonya Suther, and it's my honor and privilege to host tonight's event. My pronouns are she and her, and for accessibility purposes, I will tell you that I am an older white woman with short, bleach blonde hair. I'm wearing gold wire rimmed glasses, gold dangly earrings, and I'm sitting here in my home office. We're all here to celebrate and experience the first public reading in a series of readings from Zoeglossia's annual conference. I want to thank everyone for being here with us. Love to take a look at the audience right now, but I also want to thank New Mexico State University Virtual Events for their outstanding technical support, the Zoeglossia founders, and our readers who are esteemed faculty and new and returning fellows. We have a big night tonight, but before we continue, we should pause for an accessibility check. We do have ASL and captioning, but I'd like everyone to please let me know in the chat or by way of a reaction emoji if your accessibility needs are being met at this time. Did we lose Olivia? So it looks like we have a fellow that needs to be re-added. SuZi, I believe, needs to join us as well. Yeah, it looks like we've lost a couple people. We hope to get them back shortly. Thanks, Chris. Do a head count here. Still missing a couple fellows. Do we have Sabrina back? Sabrina's back now. Okay. So I'll continue on. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for your patience. If at any time the event becomes inaccessible to you, please let us know. We have 9 readers featured tonight. It's a large group, so I want to get started right away to help relieve any anxieties, including mine. But just to let you know how our evening will progress, our faculty members will read 7 to 10 minutes. The fellows will share their work for about 4 minutes each. I know that my colleague Salim Hugh-Penny will be dropping links to poems in the chat for those who would like to access the text. So thank you very much, Salim. Following these readings, we'll have a discussion and Q&A from the audience. Looking forward to that. And so we won't take too many pauses between our readers. As a last note, I want to remind everyone that this event is being recorded and will be aired via our YouTube channel at a later time. With that in mind, I'd like you to sit back and enjoy the event as I introduce the first reader of the night. So it's my pleasure to introduce Jerome Ellis. Jerome Ellis is an animal artist and proud stutterer living in Norfolk, Virginia. His collaborative musical performance work has been presented by the Lincoln Center, the Poetry Project, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art, among others. He has received a Fulbright Fellowship, a United States Artist Fellowship, a Foundation of Contemporary Art Grants to Artist Award, and a Creative Capital Grant. He is so grateful to be included in this year's retreat. Please welcome Jerome Ellis.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Tanya, so much for your kind introduction. Thank you, Zoeglossia, for having me. I'm so happy to be here with everybody. I'll jump right in. I'm going to read from a poem that is a list of plants that are known to grow in and around Charleston, South Carolina. And one of the origins of this list that I compiled is that I have been engaging with an archive of newspaper advertisements that were placed by enslavers in the 19th and 18th centuries, when an enslaved person ran away, and that the enslavers would place these advertisements, these notices to retrieve their property. And these advertisements would often be very short. They were usually expensive to place, and they're brutal and violent. They usually give a description of the enslaved person and a reward amount. And I have been focusing on advertisements concerning enslaved people who stuttered or stammered, or who are identified as having some kind of speech impediment. And there's one particular advertisement for an enslaved ancestor who was said to have run away near Charleston. So I made this list partially as a response to this advertisement, as a kind of a counter advertisement. The list currently is about 28 pages long, as opposed to just the paragraph of the advertisement. And it's also a way for me to express my gratitude for the plants that take care of us all and the earth. So I will just read some of the list. We belong to you, Elder Southern Grape Fern. Botricium biternatum. Oops, oh, my smoke alarm is going off. I'll be right back. Thank you, babe. Sorry, everybody. I was cooking. We bow Thank you, baby. We bow before you, Elder Virginia, 3-seed Mercury, Acalipha rhomboidea. We belong to you, Elder Clasping Leaf, St. John's wort, Hypericum gymnanthum. We belong to you, Elder Laurel Oak. Quercus Laurifolia. We belong to you, Elder Sprawling Hoary P. Tephrosia Hispidula. We belong to you, Elder Beach Morning Glory. Ipomea Imperati. We belong to you, Elder He Huckleberry, Lionia Ligustrina. We belong to you, Elder Philadelphia Fleabane, Erigeron Philadelphicus. We belong to you, Elder Prickly Glasswort, Salsola Kali. We bow before you, Elder Slender Penstemon, Penstemon Australis. We belong to you, Elder Longleaf Lobelia, Lobelia elongata. We belong to you, Elder Trailing Pearlwort, Sagina Decumbens. We belong to you, Elder Silverling, Baccharis Glomeruliflora. We bow before you, Elder Climbing Hempweed. I'll pause there. That's maybe about 20 of the roughly 1,000 names in the list. And of course there are so many more that could be there. And I have brown skin, nappy black hair, a maroon t-shirt, and I'm sitting at home in front of an upright a piano. Thank you all for having me.
Thank you, Jerome. That was beautiful. What a lovely, beautiful way to start the event.
Thank you so much.
Our next reader tonight is Khairani Barokka. Khairani Barokka is a Minang Javanese writer and artist from Jakarta, now based in London, and is editor of Modern Poetry in Translation. Her work has been presented widely internationally and centers disability justice as anti-colonial praxis. Among her honors, she was a UNFPA Indonesian Young Leader Driving Social Change for Arts Practice and Research, an NYU Tisch Departmental Fellow, Modern Poetry and Translations Inaugural Poet in Residence, and Associate Artist at the UK's National Centre for Writing. Her books include Rope, Indigenous Species, co-edited volumes Stares and Whispers, Deaf and Disabled Poets Write Back, which was shortlisted for a Saboteur Award, and her most recent book, poetry collection Ultimatum Orangutan, was shortlisted for the Barbellion Prize. Please welcome Khairani Barokka.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me. Thank you so much to everyone involved with Zoeglossia and all the faculty and fellows for accepting me into this very special community. Thank you, Salim. Thank you, Connie. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, including ASL interpreter Tom. Everyone, I'm a bit loopy and underspooned, so apologies if I'm tripping over myself a little. So I'm going to begin with a poem entitled Time Machine. A bit of background for this poem is that I think a lot about how, even though it was in the UK that I finally found medication, it is also the UK that is responsible, and European countries that are responsible for why, as a woman in Indonesia, I was denied proper healthcare in the first place because of colonial extraction. Because although in my culture, Javanese culture, we have disabled gods, when missionary medicine and missionary hospitals came, any sense of disabled people as being closer to holy was destroyed by and large. And a lot of research about that was done by my colleague, Slamet Amix Tohari. So I always try and cite his research. And even though I have medication now, I am denied any access to public funds as a migrant. So that's been good times. Okay, but we find succor in community, and fuck them, right? Time machine. Big Ben unfolds towards me. Chimes once another gong, and the bones feel it insipid. Empire it pummels into us residents of Simon Lodge at St. Thomas's Hospital. Empire, echo, echo, heals you and causes flexible hurt. Empire balms just so far enough. Root cause swept sideways. Canals of pain a labyrinth. Persimmons brought to a man here. Visitor proffered, cauterizing the ache with truth. Honey love, sustenance, persistence, pert fruit. Ease guilt at living on this little isle, and none of the two you came from. This the biggest pain center in Europe. Your medication too dear in Jakarta. Circular logic. Pain apothecary here, pain apothecaries there in felled rainforest. Every pain you felt caused by a not here understanding by science, nor the other kind, not here consistency, not here generosity of an imagined coherent universe. Eating gluttonous systems alive is entwined with their habitation. History is now, is that enough to spur self-forgiveness? Eat what is given of the old growth sucked away from your grandfather's land. Notice the eyes of a child brim light as the fountain outside churns its undying spectacle. Sort your clothes on the hangers, think the orderlies. Take care not to miss the giant bell ding-donging dinner. I wrote that when I was in a hospital right across from Big Ben. I would like to self-describe. Apologies for forgetting to do so earlier. I'm an Indonesian woman with black hair tied back, a silver necklace, a blue t-shirt, and I am also apparently the height of an ant because behind me is a virtual background made of grass. Fake grass. Okay. This one is called Rest Stop. Body reminds me to love thyself with a harpsichord of crowing nerves, and so the beats for rest, and so reminds alive, alive, and now with medicine finally. Body a kinder weather vane more often. Body is everything underneath and between the weather. The weather is what everything it withstands. And so not a droplet of hate for body, since breaking began in it only when called for infernos of weather. Laughingly, I realize that this is what's meant by under the weather for me, by weathering pain, imprint of and on unique body mind, crackles, stutters within. And so the beats for rest, and so, ma'am, what is productivity, unit of self, is not alive, alive. Dear body, one body, slight body, ephemeral mass. I hum not to weather, to rush of lost seeking, to able assumption spoon-fed to the mob, time-ticking markets of stock at the altar of rainforest used as pawns. This is not the song. To body goes humming, goes all the hum. This one's called Pylons. I am writing from a drowning ship. I am infested with burnt and breaking pylons. A shock to the limbic system of a rainforest. I am fracked nervous systems. I am writing from the underwater debris of a coral reef blasted. I am enraptured, fascinated by the glow of a supernova that is our own destruction. I am the palms of your mother in the dead of night, when all rushes to extinction, and constellations swarm your body, reminding you of what is here still. This next one is entitled, In Which I Hypnotize a Tiger. So some context is that in Minang culture, we believe that tigers are the vessels into which our ancestors return. So when I think about tiger extinction, I feel very concerned for the environment, but I'm also like, Grandma, in which I hypnotize a tiger. Not made for Blake quotes and Tinder profiles, not squandered for bullets slung as attempts at gumption, not slit with knives on colonists' orders, then strung up, not sold to a venture capitalist who'll place her pale feet and heels and on you, not vanishing, not a chipmunk-cheeked emoji, not bedtime threat to children in cold climates, not CGI recreation with an underappreciated actor voicing you, not a bevy of ill-advised tattoos, not The Hangover, not sports team embodiment, not go get 'em, not taxidermy, not species forgotten, not a name used for foreplay, not a fantastic form of balm for soothing creaking muscle tissue, not a totem for my calming alone, not tired and misunderstood and hiding and rotting and gone, scream without shame or fear of banishment. This is no forest of wounding, tribulation, dust of your bone, lick your paws, open your eyes. This one is entitled Remaining Outpost. I'm going to actually truncate my reading, I think a little bit. I think I'm fading a bit, so I hope it's okay. I'm going to cut a bit from the set list. Remaining Outpost. Snow presents itself on green leaves, rain seeps into dry season. More time left for protection of species and language. My father cracks us open a rainforest plant he's forgotten the name of, brought home to city. Inside, 2 translucent alien orbs, large with seed, sweet and off-white as kalengkeng, longer and more oval. Orange, sappy with tang, another fruit, liwat, yet untranslated into English, unextracted from on master-shelf groceries. Sliver of its bright saliva spun out, the hooting relief of these mysteries entering our consciousness, while plain as the sun for people freed from our kind of terrible jealous and guzzling, miserly, prickly with sodium lauryl sulfate and parabens, awash in a drowning, online sales for clothing, a spike of adrenaline, the woods as a set of conquerable names. So I'm just going to cut one poem from the set list. I'm going to read this and then the final poem, which is a shorter one. So this poem is entitled Medusozoa, Neuropathic Pain, and I think Medusozoa is the Latin name for jellyfish. In Kalimantan, a lake so inland and exile that jellyfish there have no sense of sting, divers swim at ease, brushing legs against ghosts, evolving out of our sense of poisoning tentacles as possibility. Breathe this, the world is dying, yet holds both my enduring corpus and animals whose limbs have swept away all hurt. This is blessed plurality of sense, this a many-tentacled neuron diversity, this a synapse in colenterate could tell it not to kill us, a synapse in ourselves could try to, fail to, fall wet. And then the last poem is a bilingual poem, so the first part is in Indonesian and the last part is in English. Sungai di pesisir, river on the shore. Ada sungai di pesisir, sini kalian, ikat tali diri ke samudra. There's a river on the shore, come closer, tie the rope of yourself to the sea. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Khairani. Sorry, I don't have my. Oh, that was beautiful. I was smiling the whole time. Absolutely beautiful. I just want to recap, just go over quickly, just to put a couple of people up on deck. Just the reading. We have Olivia Muenz next, and then we'll have Karl, and then we'll have Armaan. So next up is Olivia Muenz. Olivia Muenz is the author of the poetry collection I Feel Fine, winner of the 2022 Gatewood Prize, and her chapbook is Where I Was Again. Where Was I Again? She holds a BA from NYU and an MFA in creative writing from LSU, where she received the Robert Penn Warren Thesis Award in prose. Her work has appeared or is forthcoming in New England Review, the Missouri Review, Poetry Daily, Michigan Quarterly Review, Gulf Coast, and elsewhere. Please welcome Olivia.
Hello, everyone. I'm so grateful to be here. My name is Olivia Muenz. I'm a white woman with long brown hair and brown eyes, wearing a dark green sweater with a really bright, far too bright window behind me. I'm just going to read from my book that just came out pretty recently, which was exciting. I wrote this while I was bedridden. Part of my disability is having very intense cognitive fatigue and being neurodivergent. And it makes it very, very difficult to write very much. And I hadn't written in a very long time, and I was looking forward to writing again. And I just became bedridden for a few months. And so I decided to write through it and write with my brain in whatever way it wanted to write instead of working against it. And this is what it did. So if you're reading along, I'll be reading from the first section, which is what's included, and I'll probably skip some stanzas. Here is my brain. It is writing this for you in Times New Roman to make us both feel better. We feel even. Here is my brain. Here is my brain on drugs. No eggs this time, only the good ones, the doctor ones, perfectly legal. I feel fine, perfectly regal. I don't feel pain. The earth is rotating on its axis, and so is this room, and so are you. We are fine. Welcome to my book. Here is the world. We are in this together. The body pulls in toward itself and toward all of us. That is all we need. Am I doing this right? Where was I again? Here is the body of water that you were looking for. Take a drink. Kiss the mirror. It will last longer. Don't forget to call the pharmacy again. Here is the state of things. We are in this together and the room is moving with us. How nice, how orderly, how together we are. I love you for being here with me. We think about hopscotch and that's fine enough for now. I offer us a cold beverage. We love cold beverages, especially when it's hot out. How nice. Here is the fireplace. It's warming us up. We needed it. We feel safe now. We breathe it in. The smoke, that's good. We're sawdust. We love this stuff. We're so happy we're here. Did you see the moon landing? Here we go again. It's hurtling towards us. Look out. That was close. Let's take a bath. Let's promise each other we'll never bathe again. That will make us proud. That will make us eat peaches. It doesn't matter what we think. We forgot to call the pharmacy again. Here is your brain on. Music. I'll give it to you, Einstein. I'll take you on a boat and make you watch it sink. Do you believe me now? Is anybody alive out there? Can anybody hear me? Here it is. We've been looking for you, and here you were all along. That's the nature of it, we figure. Hide and we'll seek. Do you think we can find it by smell? Should we bake cookies? Can we find our way home from? Here is an orange. Let me show you how to slice it. First, you take an orange. Then you stick your thumb in it. Then you hold it up to the moon. This step is important. Don't think about it. Think about orange juice. Think about swallowing. Spin it like it's the earth. Now you can eat it. Here is that memory I wasn't looking for. You brought it back all of a sudden in a little tote bag. I had forgotten all about it, and now here it is. What a surprise. Did you bring a gift receipt? Here is my dusty balloon. I unpacked it just for you. It will stay put if you let it. Give it a kiss. Here's your hat. What's your hurry? Here I am. Surprise. I got you this time. You should have seen your face. You looked like an icicle. You hardly knew you were dangerous. You keep dripping in my eye. I shouldn't keep looking up. Let me know when you spot the moon. Here are my keys. Now get lost. Here you went. I let you die without asking. I could have done it. I could have made it easier for all of us. But here you were, and I couldn't say a thing besides, no, I am not my mother. It was too late for talks about the Great Depression, our Great Depression. I don't know why, but I knew. I will save them for us forever. We will live on forever. Thank you so much.
And thank you, Olivia. It was fantastic. So I think I made an error in my lineup for the next reader. Armaan Singh is next, and then we'll have Karl, and then after Karl is Leslie. Armaan Singh is a neurodivergent trans-masculine artist, comedian, and survivor. Armaan traces his ancestral roots to East Punjab, officially located in northern India. Armaan has been writing poetry in his native language, Punjabi, from the age of 13. Over the years, his craft has evolved into spoken word pieces, songs, and comedy. He is passionate about using his voice to say what is not said enough. Centering queer voices and survivorship is what drives his work, and he believes his life's purpose is to leave the world better than he found it. Please welcome Armaan.
Hi, everyone.
So we're going to have, I'm sorry, we're going to have Armaan next before Karl. Sorry for the mix-up. This is my mistake. Thank you.
Everyone. Yeah, no worries. Thank you. Visual descriptor. I am a South Asian man with a lot of melanin in my skin. I'm wearing a grayish cap, and it's pretty sunny behind me, and there's a cat tree. Yeah, I have a couple of poems that are part of a book that I hope gets published sometime when I'm able to finish it. So I'm just gonna go through those. The first one is called Freedom is an Illusion. Every day, some of us wake up on this side of the world where freedom mostly is in question. We get up and turn on the lights, pour a cup of coffee. We think we are free. While working tirelessly, there's no time to feel or see the reality. While we pour our coffee, open our laptops without question. Millions yearn for a drop of water. Many haven't slept on a cushioned bed. Their prisons being built for profit. Power runs in circles that are dishonest. How can I stop thinking about death when it can come any time? Till this day, being brown is a crime. Whiteness has blinded us from the prisons of this world. To think anyone is free is simply absurd. From Punjab to Palestine, from America to India, whiteness is the only thing that looks free, capable of imprisoning me for crimes we don't commit. Thieves were their ancestors, though they won't admit. Trans rights are played with every single day. It's still a crime to be gay. 4th of July is a day of noise pollution, maintaining the planned confusion. Fireworks to keep the delusion, not a day I get to breathe. I ask you, are we really free? The next one is called Brief Phone Calls. This is just around my experiences getting misgendered in my language. My language is very gendered, so that's like, someone can misgender you without even saying your name wrong. There are names I get called. To the sound of it, I don't belong. They call out a version of me, the girl I pretended to be before I was free. Still, people call me so adamant I'm a she. She who lived being claimed and act she maintained. They taught her who to be and what is allowed, how to stay silent and dissolve in the crowd. So they call wanting to talk, perhaps to the daughter they lost. I cringe to the dead name, living this life, trying to reclaim my body and sense of being. Every day I fought to be seen. Hearing the dead name, the life within me erupts in anger. Words in my throat struggling to answer. Sometimes I manage to call them out, correct them out loud. Others, I grind my teeth, swallow the pain, and keep the call brief. Yeah, I'm gonna skip this one too. Yeah, okay. The next one I'm gonna read is called, I titled it Love Made Me Feel. As a child, I was numbed from overwhelming, never-ending dehumanization of my body, from the constant abuse and absence of love. I'm mature too fast, not feeling anything at all, never learning how to express or be asked, is this touch okay? Does it feel good? Do I have your consent? In the absence of love, you grow deprived like malnutrition of the mind. So I move through life like a numb puzzle inside, not feeling anything at all. But love made me feel things, uncomfortable pain for memories buried deep within. Love made me smile and shed tears. Love asked me to face my fears. Love gave me wings, showed me places that still sting, wounds that needed attention so I could release the tension I had locked up all through my body. Returning home is a road bit foggy, but now love never let go. It let me grow into my own skin. Love made me feel things, also wonderful. This is a unreleased, the next one is called Bye Boo. It's a unreleased rap song that I hope I can put out there in this year sometime. It goes, wanna leave my life? Let me get the door. Unworthy love, I beg no more. Learned my lesson, swim to the shore. Unworthy love, I need no more. Wanna leave my life? Let me get the door. First love left me on the floor with a box of pills, pain that can kill. I got voids to fill, mother wound a steep fucking hill. I climbed it all by myself. Knotted tummy, untie myself. This wound is deep, where you stuck the knife. Twisted left, twisted right. Pool of tears, bled all night. Soaked up pillow, held on tight. Head on out, I'll be all right. Suck at goodbyes, this one stings. To the surface, some shit it brings. I've been broken too many times. I'm a diamond lost in dimes. I gave them all and some more. Wasn't enough, not my loss. Thanks for breaking my precious heart. Gonna take it all and make some art. I think I'm gonna read one more. I wrote this, I would say last week, and I am excited to put this in the world. I have not titled it yet. The world is not fair and I live in the gray. We never have words, just a lot to say. Preach God hates me, but want me to pray. My parents don't see me, it's driving me astray. Can't ever sleep, and nightmares when I do. Trauma in my body like rubber and glue. I live with my cats, I think they are God. Love is in the spirit, religion is a fraud. Gender was constructed, pretty sure it was taught. The world is not fair, and I live in the gray. Never have words, just a whole lot to say. Thank you so much for giving me space.
Thank you, Armaan. That was fantastic. Our next three readers are returning fellows, and we're so excited to have them back. First up is Karl Knights, and then Leslie, and then Pinka PopsicKle. Karl Knights' poetry, essays, and journalism have appeared in The Guardian, the Poetry Review, Poetry London, and elsewhere. His debut chapbook, Kin, appeared last year with The Poetry Business. He lives in Suffolk, England. Please welcome Karl Knights.
Hello, one and all. It's such a pleasure to be back, and it's a real joy to be amongst poets whose words I know and many more poets whose words are new to me. It's a real joy to encounter everyone's work. I'm just going to read one poem, and there's a term in it which may be unfamiliar to people tuning in internationally. This poem mentions sen, S-E-N, and that's basically the term that gets used for young disabled people, disabled students, until you sort of graduate high school. And it stands for, it's a quite cringeworthy term. It stands for special educational needs, which isn't the best term in the world. But and there's also, this poem mentions a Senko, which basically is the person who looks after access needs in schools here. And that's all you need to know about this poem, I think. This poem is called First Meeting. I'd never met another autistic person. My Senko wanted me to tutor him. I was 15, he was 12. I waited for him in the room we'd been assigned. I could hear the other SEN kids laughing and screaming, arguing with their TAs. Then he came in, Tom. He sat down. My stims, tapping my teeth, twiddling my fingers, spinning my keys, were exactly mirrored. He stared at the floor as I used to. He fidgeted, bounced, rocked. He told me he didn't understand why the girl next to him in maths keeps passing notes and smiling. Why do teachers insist on eye contact when it means nothing? I said I didn't know either. Try and look at their noses or their foreheads. I pulled out some of the board games left in our room, not Monopoly. We sussed we couldn't do numbers. When the bell rang, neither of us knew how to leave. Thank you all so much. I think I must have a bit of a fried brain. I can't remember if I did a visual description, but if I forgot to, I'm sorry if I forgot. But just in case I didn't, I'm a white guy with short brown hair and glasses, and I have a kind of beige-ish shirt on, and there's books behind me. But thank you all so much for being here, and I'm really looking forward to encountering everyone's work and being amongst so many kin. It's a real joy. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Carl. It was great to see you. Great to hear your work. Thanks so much. Our next returning fellow is we're excited about is Leslie McIntosh. Leslie McIntosh is Black, male presenting, male attractive, autistic, an older millennial, a poet, a fictionist, and Leslie has received support in the form of residencies and fellowships from Breadloaf, excuse me. This is a tough one. Kalalaloo, Malay Arts, The Watering Hole, Zoeglossia, and more. Leslie's work has appeared in numerous publications such as Beloit, Poetry Journal, Foglifter, Obsidian, Split This Rock, Southern Humanities Review, Witness, and in the forthcoming anthology, In the Tempered Dark, Contemporary Poets Transcending Elegy. A nominee for both Best of the Net and the Pushcart Prize, as well as a semifinalist for the 2022 92Y Discovery Award, Leslie is an assistant poetry editor at Newfound and lives on the stolen land of the Munsee Lenape, currently known as currently known as Jersey City, New Jersey. Please welcome Leslie McIntosh.
Hello, poetry family. I'm so excited to read two new poems for you. I'm Leslie, and I am a Black male. I'm wearing a black t-shirt. I have a grown out frohawk that is blonde and I forget what I dyed it a few months ago. I think it was teal. And I'm wearing glasses that are like coffee brown mostly, but then there's this creamy swoop that goes across the bridge. And I have a background of the Aurora Borealis. I think it's someplace in Norway. And Shout out to Sylvia Winter, whose birthday it is today, who has been my theory go-to. So I just wanted to shout her out. I'm going to read 2 poems. The first poem is called Theory of Mind is to Convergent as Telepathy is to Non Sequitur. The pediatric neurologist's snow white coat spawned a notepad to measure my pain. My headaches anchored our appointment, but one of us was still sinking. I was crying. His face distorted, misshapen. When, how long, where? My mind struck into auras. I talked about what it sounded like when my mother looked at me, pointed to the head of my Ernie doll and plucked a new pronoun to pin my life against it. What do you do when the objective correlative fails and you still have to keep sitting with someone? Not everyone can tolerate at the speed of light, me included. Not every quantum leap has room for all your body parts. If you're like most, you'll drop a piece here or there. The good news, life is better as a scavenger hunt anyway, but failing that, musical chairs. And if not that, maybe a techno beat, broken till it's shameless. Its structure is quicksand. The trick to not sinking? Don't run. Just stand there and shimmy in place. Trust the ground to become ground again. My fallen arches are proof. See how they still rise against the explosions of the crashing rave. Chasms in the readout made my EEGs seem like polygraphs, those most gifted grifters. If I die, can my body fit in there? The doctor stopped for a moment. Then, is that where it hurts? Go on, son. Tell me. The next poem I'm going to read is called Immanence is to Chaotic Neutral as A Priori is to Gestalt. No, I will not change the channel back to Ghost in the Shell, I say, and I respond in kind. But the theme song just came on. I place I discontent next to I's knee, and I lightly graze against it. Don't touch me, I says, and I gravitate toward the laser in I's eyes. I'm not doing anything. I start rolling up I's sleeves. Carpet burns, I's shins, knees, butt cheeks, shoulder blades, such wildfire to tussle round. Silhouettes enshrined in sunset shade of window blind and Family Dollar contextual. You crushing the Doritos, I bark at I, before ask what pari passu interalia, a fiction, the charades of negotiation. Nobody else lives here, but mediate I shall. Peel what I believe to be a single crisis like an orange, only to discover I am hopelessly outnumbered. This dinner table Harlem shakes like a sleeper hit, like sight is kind to none. The eye will have only televised night to blanket Fort Feudal, the studio apartment, borders drawn, in essence of candy straw, guns loaded with. Austere in our sincerity, but unconvinced by snow of cable static and falling ceiling tile, wed. To become, prevailing cosmogony from. This diction, a new player character spawns. Don't say my name like the floor is lava. Infinite room temperature where one's knees burn settles in the spine. The possessive sat no rain amid the war of the eye was foreign, trailing in reek of reefer and absconding excuses. Who exactly are you to say my? The specific is no idle threat here. It won't budge, even as the eyes rove. Myopic ditched its droning spiel, and my, alone, spoke. To no one in particular. We still have such a long time to be here. Be a good brother. Let him space. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Leslie. I believe we have 3 readers left for this first night. We're coming up. We have Pinka PopsicKle, then we have SuZi, and then we have Sabrina Jamaal-Edine. So next up is Pinka. Pinka PopsicKle is a visual artist, writer, an art historian from Mumbai, India. In her academic and artistic practice, she works with Cryptime and protests in ecological reimaginings. Mughal miniatures, early modern natural history, and the concept of the ajaib, particularly in imaginings of borderlands of nation empires and as implied to anomalous disabled bodies. She is one half of the artist duo Resting Museum. Please welcome back, Pinka PopsicKle.
Hi everyone, nice to see all the excitement in the chat. I'm Priyanka or Pinka. I'm a brown South Asian woman. I'm currently wearing black headphones and have a cream colored top on. There's a cream colored background with a mirror, and you might see a crucifix there that I'm trying to hide with my head. So can you please have the video? So I am currently in a very adventurous, high anxiety stage in my life where I have a lot of things happening. So I am getting married in July, and as Indian weddings go, I can't have a wedding that's accessible to me because I have to attend to like 1,000 guests. So at least as I've made, I have 5 wedding receptions, so I can deal with like 100 guests at a time. But I'm getting increasingly really annoyed by the heteropatriarchal ideas and notions imposed on me by the Roman Catholic Church, which I am part of, and Indian society, and the combination of these two is making it very stifling and irritating. So that's kind of my second poem. So Western Music, the artist duo I am part of, is also having a solo show 10 days after the last reception of the wedding, so I'm very stressed about that. I also have gotten an MFA in art practice in the US in UC Berkeley, so I'll be shifting there in August, and I won't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to attend the Zoeglossia session. But that also comes with a lot of anxiety to have to shift continents, and then this feeling that you will not be enough or you will not be able to manage the daily chores, cooking your food, doing your laundry, etc. So I had a lot of emotional breakdowns. The first poem here is written is what I thought out after 4 hours of crying. I was very tired and overwhelmed. As part of my artwork, I've done this series called Disabled Dictionary Salvation Edition. I've hyperlinked it in the footnotes. I'll use the first 2 words from that series of artworks. Over here, the words that I use in the artworks were around the spine. So it starts with the and ends with the, because rid means spine in Hindi. Okay, here we go. Disabled Dictionary Sanskrit Edition. To feel utterly broken and defeated are not the same thing. Run, go, to break, split, to divide. Run, go, to defeat, to hurt, to subdue. You seem to be missing out that sound when you aspirate or asphyxiate the wind knocked out of your chest. Perhaps you feel defeated. And the next one is a very simple one of the feathered bride. I refuse to be a perfect bride. My crown shall have no train. I will not wear my bright blue hair. I will not change my name. I won't be taught into tradition, and I cannot be given away, but I don't belong to anyone. I'm a daughter of the day with still no sunshine. How can I be expected to give up my home unless you know how to fill the blue sky of its dome? I won't be less. I will not bend to adjust and compromise. My love and I expand instead, and like the child, we rise to hold each other's hopes, dreams, flaws, misgivings, fear of short unexplored, and remain two bodies, two minds, two souls. For why do one miss so much more? And so I refuse to be a pretty bride of sparkles, nets, and lace. I swear to dance the night away. My ferret is my grip. I smile with all my blood-stained teeth. I've drunk the wild and hunger still. Is gluttony for more from life also a cardinal sin? Thank you.
Thank you, Pinka. So we've come back around to the new fellows. Our next up is SuZi. SuZi is a poet, writer, artist, equestrian, second generation ecofeminist, disabled by both genetics and unhappy events. Publications in poetry, essay, review, fiction, and art. She has published books that are available for you to read, please. SuZi is also a solo artist, editor of Red Mare, an ecofeminist, artist-made, hand-sewn, art cover, numbered limited poetry chapbook series. She feeds birds and tries to garden. Please welcome SuZi.
Good evening. Thank you for the honor and privilege of being here. How's my audio? We okay? Okay, thank you. The poem I'd like to read for you is part of a series, but was not included in the book I made for the series, which is 100,000 Poets for Change. It wasn't included in that, should be one day, hopefully, but it was published in the Bitchin' Kitsch, shout out to them, and has a content warning. Oh, by the way, I present as a female with purple hair and tattoos, and my disabilities include profound immunocompromisation because of the Crohn's and a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, heat index, content warning, climate crisis. It is crepe myrtle season. The last rain rises with the light in veils of gold, slanting the night's deep dark to a retreat in the trees. And we hear singing. The cranes embroider the air with their echo. The summer ducks display the new children in soprano, and there's always a crow. Our morning music shifts, a shady frog, a distant woodpecker, and the heat shifts to an unusual froth. It too might be heard in the song of the light, the great tides of heat. We are burning with fever. Everywhere is the sickness. The insects are eager for our corpses. 2. The woodpecker tells us of dying trees, cued by the cicada's chorus. We don't need World Health to tell us of their revised scale, when the cypress were the first to stand and burn. It was a sorrow to have swaddled their infant bodies in fancy dirt, how they grew into stalwart cones rising. Then the season, the russet took them. the Yule of their cremation. To rest among the trees is to breathe. 3. The light sings, it pulses in many notes, some of which are colors, a purple that burns, that's ultra to us. So we science, we measure and assign integers and hide, not to the trees, but to our intrinsic eternal artifice. But in the embrace of the planet is breath, the breathing foliage, a white crepe myrtle perhaps. That is a touch point for a freshly fledged cardinal, his gray belly, his blooming red touches as he bends to wipe his beak against the gray branch of beautyberry upon which he made his breakfast. His command of the air is precise. He breathes his wings. We will breathe the noon light, and a trio of crows will discuss corn. Somewhere are machines whose metallic heat shivers as it rises, adding currents for the butterflies, and up to the O4. And as we face our cardinal directions, our breath is our motion. A daylight raccoon has usurped the crows. Her overt desperation is unmindful of being seen. She's so thin of hip, and thus in this oracular light, the special song of burning, the machines now sing their addictive death march, and the light bends, is bending more and more. And if each day they breathe and their breath is our breath, and their breath is the soft light, not the burning one, their breath is a balance of the waters. Their breath is our motion. Their burning bends the light to giggling, to chop, to shorter waves, because we measured, we clocked it our last 10 seasons. The days of burning are doubling every other year. Extreme WHO 11, right? Yet the cicadas answer the machines, yet one hopeful jay a ways off in the swamp. The daylight raccoons finds the feeder and has a good snack. Where the chamomile has gone leggy and native, a small black moth hides in the heather. There's hope in the hawk, who gives us a trio of her blues bending notes. Let her not be last. Oh, let not last, because we vow more flowers to bloom against the pacing hours after midnight, when the wet face is slow to dry and the fruit trees glow with burning, the bolt upright from sleep, burning but inside, under the bones that gasp to breathe. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, SuZi. Crows and crepe myrtles, love it. So our final reader of the night is Sabrina Jamaal-Edine. Sabrina Jamaal-Edine is an Arab disabled queer spoken word poet, PhD candidate at University of Illinois, Chicago, studying the use of spoken word poetry as critical narrative pedagogy to educate nursing students about ableism and disability justice in healthcare. Sabrina serves on the board of directors of the National Organization of Nurses with Disabilities and has performed a TEDx spoken word poem on her experience with Islamophobia, xenophobia, and identity-based self-hatred of minorities. Please welcome Sabrina Jamaal-Edine.
Thank you. I want to thank everyone. I'm so honored to be part of this space and community. For an image description, I am a brown Arab woman with thick brown curls that are dyed blonde on the ends, brown eyes, and behind me there is a black chalkboard with beautiful flowers drawn with white chalk by some friends. I'm going to give a quick content warning. I'll be talking about mistrust of disabled people and my experience with ableism related to having a non-apparent disability. And this poem does get loud, so please feel free to adjust your volume as needed. It is a spoken word poem. This one is called I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. To the man who approached me after I parked in my handicapped spot, hatred painted your face with transparency so I could see your every thought. She ain't blind, she can hear just fine. Doesn't look like demons have incapacitated her mind. She can walk in her body, looks pretty aligned. She's clearly not handicapped, so who the fuck does she think she is parking in that spot? He thought, looks like a lesson needs to be taught. He got a cousin in a wheelchair, so this must have really got him distraught. Finally, an opportunity to show some resistance like a white man's first boycott. You felt so inclined to speak on behalf of the divine and all of mankind to tell me that I'm disgusting and that I should save that spot for somebody who actually needs it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you for making me feel like a piece of shit, so much so that when I got home that day, I couldn't help it but sit and cry to my mother, regretting that I did not lift up my shirt to show him the mural of scars that the surgeon had painted on my skin, regretting that I did not force that man to listen to my story. To hear my allegory about how a doctor in a white coat said the only way to fix the achiness from the curvature in my back would be to realign my spine like a medical carpenter, with my body being the furniture. The words of the surgeon had been cultivated with precision like a lying politician with a charismatic audition. 3 1-inch turned into 3 5-inch incisions, the minimally invasive technique that the surgeon said would have me up and walking around the mall in 3 weeks left me paralyzed in bed for 3 months. 3-hour surgery lasted 6. 2-day stay turned into 2-day stay turned into 7 with 36 pills a day. Morphine shot up my vein every 8 minutes. Couldn't even take away an ounce of the pain like the efficacy of shooting up cocaine. Blood sucked out my body like a vampire through a JP drain. Had a 2-liter blood transfusion, inebriating my body with a stranger's thick red liquid like Cabernet. I wish that man could have heard how 16 years of my life had passed, but it was not until my nurses removed the bandages, unmummified where I was crucified, that I ever saw my dad cry. I woke up from the anesthesia on a midazolam high, asking why does it hurt to breathe? Lie after lie had escaped through the crevices between that surgeon's teeth. In literature, it's called sarcasm when you say the opposite of what you mean. Hyperbole, it's a form of verbal irony like the smell of blood that intoxicated my nose. Tyranny, my body became a casualty of a capitalistic society. My lungs became incarcerated behind the 2 titanium rods and 18 screws that now line my spine. They became the bars of my body's jail cell, where every breath, even shallow ones, felt like someone was using a knife to scrape out my flesh. I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say 'em loud, say 'em clear for the whole round world to hear. I wish that man could have heard How 6 months after my surgery, over 500 lawsuits broke out against the surgeon, revealing that he had been purposefully messing up patients' backs, performing double to triple the amount of surgeries, attaining big-ass money stacks, funding mansions with private cul-de-sacs and Cadillacs, and hospitals were silent because, man, oh man, do they love those kickbacks, sit back like they're watching their favorite quarterback while they throw back a six-pack, but house arrest gave the surgeon a panic attack, so he fled the country on a private jet to save his own ass. I didn't even have a lawsuit. I just wanted to be able to breathe. I remember after each appointment, I'd sit in the car with my mom and scream, tears flooding like the Red Sea. God, how could you do this to me? I've never been religious, but desperation got me down on my knees to pray and plead. I couldn't quite see how this could happen merely because someone was greedy, thirsty for money, and the manifestation was man-made disability. In summary, I took a year off to get a revision surgery, had everything taken out and put back in properly. The minute that I got out of surgery, it no longer hurt to breathe, unincarcerated underneath, but still suffocated by society's misperception of invisible disability whenever that part of me sneaks into the realm of visibility based on the services I still need. I just hope you listen before you judge the pain that you can't see and understand that conversation about identity is a much more effective means of getting answers than trying to see the unseen. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. Wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you see and agree that every man should be free.
Yeah.
Wow, that was absolutely beautiful. That was fantastic. Sabrina brought it home. We ended the way we started. Phenomenal. Thank you so much to all of our readers. Let's give them a virtual round of applause. So this concludes the reading portion of the event, and I think now we'd like to open it up for discussion with some Q&A. I know my colleague Salim would love to join in on the Q&A. Help guide us through it.
Just spotlighting Joe and excellent. So feel free, folks. This is Salim, visual description, black man with glasses, a watering eye, mustache, and right side cochlear implant, navy blue sweater with a gold necklace. Behind me is a rocking chair and some Legos. You're more than welcome to put a question in the chat. We don't have to be super formal as far as using the actual Q&A feature, but you are definitely welcome you're welcome to do that as well. We have about 35 folks on the event, so please, I encourage you, if you're not a fellow, that would be awesome to have people's questions from the general public as well. You can either direct it to a specific person, or you can just ask it generally, and then Tonya and I can sort of popcorn to the different fellows.
Speaking of the chat, we've got a couple of people still recovering from this reading. We've got Pinka, she's still recovering from that. Stephanie said it was such a rich chorus of poems. No doubt. think we have our first question. Thank you, Pinka. This question is for Olivia. Can you please tell us a little about your choice of poem delivery that sounds robotic almost?
Yeah. I think it's oh, I'm sorry. Should I say my name? Olivia speaking now. And I have brown, long hair, brown eyes, green sweater, bright window behind me. I think this was kind of a number of things. I think in general, just when I write, I always hear the voice and it's always very different. And this is just the way that I heard it. And this was the least intentional thing I ever wrote. I was very high on medications and totally out of it. So I've had to kind of go back and make sense of it in retrospect rather than in the way that I normally write, which is very intentional. So I think it's kind of a combination of things. I think partly it's this consideration of the cyborg and just the conflation of the technical and the artificial with the natural. And so I really heard it as this kind of Siri-like voice that's both like partly human, but partly robotic. And I think it creates this very strange affect that's very even. And I think that was the medical feeling that I had was this evenness. I lack energy, and I think that translates to the voice too. But then there are these very strange tonal shifts. So I think in that way, it was really just replicating my neurodivergence and the way that my lines are chopped and into pieces instead of this sustained thing, which becomes very compact and condensed and just affectless while having some weird kind of expression moment to moment.
Thank you, Olivia. And thank you, Pinka, for kicking off the questions and the discussion.
Awesome. I am happy to maybe throw out one of the next questions. We have a couple, and I think we could tie them together. There was a general question where folks were asking about process, and I would like to tie that in. There's a great question. I'll read the statement and the question. I was talking to a young poet today about how many first published poems taught me that one of the greatest rewards of sharing my poetry was seeing what discussions my work prompted people to have. What discussions do you want your work to invite people to have? Wow, I really like what do you want people to have? Oh, and apologies, that question is coming from Erine. What if I ping pong it to some of the fellows who read earlier in the evening, just to make sure they're still awake? What if we have an early reader? I know Karl, it's what, like 3 in the morning. Do you want to maybe chime in on that?
No, it's not quite 3 in the morning. It's just gone midnight here, which is fine for me. But anyway, in terms of process, I think for me it varies so much from poem to poem. And one of the kind of key takeaways that I get from Zoeglossia, but also talking with other disabled writers, is kind of breaking down that image that we inherit of someone at a desk with their pen and paper, and they go every day and write their poem and then leave and go back to the desk. And so much of my conversations with other disabled poets, but also in my own practice, is about, just figuring out that there's so many ways to write, and there's as many ways to write as there are writers, of whether it's you write in your notes app or you use voice to text software, or whether you write for 10 minutes a day or you write once a week or once a year. There's just so many ways to write, and it's not just one thing. And the second part of that question of what discussions do I want my work to invite, I think one of the funny things about my work anyway, and I'll be intrigued to hear if this is true for other poets too, but with my work, I often have no idea what the poem will do in the world, or how people will react, or what kind of discussion it will generate. And I've definitely been in a lot of situations where I've read a poem and people have seen things in it that I just was not aware of at all, and they've really revealed the poem to me. And you know, and I get to partake in that surprise as well, and I'm often surprised in a really nice way with what kind of discussions people have after my poems. It's such a delight. It's just a really nice surprise. But I'd be really curious to hear from other people too, of whether they chime or have different kind of perspectives. I'd love to hear them.
Apologies, I was muted. Maybe let's get one more person to respond to that item, and then we can do some of the other questions rolling in. Again, it's kind of a combo question about your process, and then about what discussions you want your work to invite people to have. So I'll open that to any of the readers from tonight. And we can also loop back because it is not about being like a media style interview. This is conversation. The next question that was in the chat, I know it was directed towards Jerome, who had to head out because his wife was is sick, so he had to head out. And I was also so worried when I heard that fire alarm. So I'm like, okay, you don't also need a house fire. So I think that's all good. But what I would love to do is obviously not answer that on behalf of Jerome, but to kind of speak to a piece of this that is happening in my own process right now, which is looking at this this concept and this database. I'll drop the database in the chat. But there is this pretty incredible database called Last Seen, Finding Family After Slavery. And basically volunteers can volunteer to transcribe, I guess I should pin myself. Volunteers can transcribe to help transcribe these newspapers that are for when folks who were formerly enslaved gained freedom. It's them publishing wanted ads trying to find their family. So they're essentially these short ads sent to the editors of papers. As you could probably imagine, papers that are printed in the North, trying to find out information wanted on their family in the South. So I've been using some of these excerpts in some of my work. So again, it's not the exact same, but it is kind of in that spirit of interacting with the archives and kind of trying to piece together narratives that we'll never fully be able to ascertain.
That's
So
awesome.
hopefully that may be addressed a little bit.
And just circling back to the process, Pinka put a reply in the chat. Pinka says, I like people to notice the sound, text, and visual of the script in my work, especially how sound and pronunciations change when I use more than one language in a poem. Thank you, Pinka. Would anybody else like to speak to that? Specifically what Pinka has stated, or your own process?
If not, maybe we could move to a general question that I'm always fascinated by, particularly when we have such an eclectic group of folks together, which is that simple question of what is the last one or two things you've read that has made you think about your work. So I'm not necessarily asking like for us to name drop our bookshelves, right? But kind of one or two things that you've engaged with recently that are in your mind as you're thinking about your work.
I've been reading more trans authors, trans and queer authors, and that's just been empowering to have my own voice and you know, and own it. And it's also really exciting because I don't think so. I grew up reading any trans artist, author, so it's a very different energy to be held in. So that's been inspiring.
Thank you.
I recently read a book that I will throw into the chat called Conceal Words that just came out from Black Ocean, and it's a translation, a Korean translation, and it just blew my mind. It was so good. And I think there was just such a density in each line. It just like, I had to read it so slowly because it was so wonderful. But I think part of what it was doing is it inserted language, like literal language, as a metaphor into everything, particularly in terms of eco-poetics, but just everything really. And that's something that I'm so interested in, is the text body and thinking about it as a disabled body. And even though it isn't a book on disability at all, it really helped me think about the relationship between language and the body and nature. And it's just so wonderful. I recommend everybody read it.
Thank you. And Olivia put it in the put the link in the chat.
There are two books that this is Leslie, by the way, I should say. Leslie speaking. There are two books that have been helpful to certain parts of my thinking. One book is Virginia Tufte, T-U, let me write it. She has a book called Artful Sentences, which is one of the most comprehensive, but then approachable, but rigorous books on the craft of prose, the sentence, so the basic unit of the sentence and prose. And coincidentally enough, her son, Edward Tufte, has a book. He's a political economist and a data. Sheila came through. He has a book called Seeing with Fresh Eyes. Seeing with Fresh Eyes, meaning space, data, truth, which is one of the most interesting and unexpected sources of poetic craft. It's really stunning. Like, he writes it for like data visualization people, but then he's got like whole stanzas of John Ashbery poems, and he's got Gertrude Stein, and he's got, who else he got? He got a Mary Oliver poem in there. What else? Who else is in there? It's really amazing what his fresh eyes are able to bring to the data visualization people. But if he can do that for them, it's very easy for me to reverse engineer those same things for like my own work when I'm working in verse. So yeah, the toughies are winning.
Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
We've got a question scrolling back a little bit from Zoeglossia founder Sheila Black. And Sheila says, I am curious if our process changes over time in response to the language, archives, and even syntaxes we are drawing on. I love all the collective knowledge here. Would anyone like to speak to that? We're just learning so much.
And SuZi replied, yes, it does. Oh, okay.
Leslie again, but I feel like as writers, like what goes in is what in one way or another comes back out. So like as your consumption of literature of just words changes, and as you change, like your output has to change. If it doesn't, then there's a reason to be concerned potentially.
It's Armaan. I think Sheila asked also how to find if a process works. And that's something I personally have definitely struggled with, especially like with grammar, for example, and not wanting to write because not having the background for it or English being my third language. So I mean, I guess not advice, but like what I would say, whatever works for you works. Because at the end of the day, it's you're writing it and it's for you first before it's for anybody else.
Thanks, Armaan. This is Salim again. We have had a long first day, and a first day that I appreciate that everybody has given fully to. For the folks who are tuning in as guests, you know, some folks had their very first session at 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. So we want to make sure that we're giving plenty of time for folks to rest, recover, and recharge tonight to get ready for another full day tomorrow. So I think rather than sort of us arbitrarily going till half past, maybe we'll give ourselves the gift of time and get ready to transition back to the next part of our evening or our morning or our afternoon, depending on where you're tuning in. So please, if you are able to attend tomorrow, the same link that you use tonight will get you into tomorrow's readings. It will also get you into Saturday's readings as kind of a little, you know, preview. Tomorrow, we will have not one, but two featured faculty tomorrow. And then we're going to have a great lineup of readers as well. Do want to draw your attention to the slight logistic that today we started at 3:30 Mountain. Tomorrow we start at 4 o'clock Mountain. So just to recognize, to build that in, that you get an extra half hour of space before we come together. So tomorrow's gonna be great. Two faculty I'll be hosting, and then an awesome lineup. And then we'll repeat the same thing Saturday. I'm not going to give you all the details. You can go to the Zoom portal and learn. So we'll also have a public reading Saturday night as well. I want to, as always, thank our interpretation team from Alamo City. We appreciate Tom, Joe. We appreciate you as well. And I want to give a final thank you to all of our readers. JJJJJerome Ellis as our featured faculty. Khairani Barokka, Olivia Muenz, Armaan Singh, Karl Knights, Leslie McIntosh, Pinka PopsicKle, SuZi, and Sabrina Jamaal-Edine. And thank our host of the evening, our MC of tonight, Tonya Suther. So thanks so much, everybody. Please take care, give care, and we'll talk to you all tomorrow.
Thank you and good night.